Are you tired of feeling like a puppet? Does anxiety feel like an unwelcome guest living in your space? You are not alone. You can beat this. The Stoic philosophers laid out a solution for anxiety thousands of years ago. We're going to walk you through it in this video, laying out a playbook you can use to overcome your anxiety and achieve your goals. We start with an insight. To overcome our enemy, we must first understand him. The first force to understand is desire. It's the engine that drives so much of our anxiety. We desire things: recognition, success, the approval of others. When those desires go unchecked, anxiety rears its ugly head. Think about it. Are you nervous about losing things you don't care about? You only feel anxious about things that you want. So the first step is to identify what we want and what we are anxious about. The next step is to separate out what is and is not in our control. The philosopher Epictetus spoke on this very topic. He said, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. You can control your effort, your actions, and your mindset. You cannot control the outcome, the opinions of others, or the unpredictable nature of life. In other words, you can begin to beat your anxiety by narrowing your focus. It's about focusing your energy where it matters, on what you can influence. Stressing about things outside your control doesn't change anything. Instead, double down on mastering your actions and reactions, because that does cause change. The next level of this is to examine our fears. It's desire's shadow, its hidden cousin. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears paralyze us, keep us stuck in our comfort zones, and fuel our anxiety like logs thrown on a bonfire. The Stoic strategy is to examine your fears rationally. This is the Stoic way to take it down a notch. Consider this. What's the worst that could really happen? Often, when we confront our fears head-on, they shrink in size. And sometimes, we realize that the worst-case scenario isn't so bad after all. It's manageable. It's survivable. Seneca wrote of dwelling on evils as a means to stripping them of their power, because, as he says, what is foreseen rarely comes as a shock. That's a powerful idea. Anxiety isn't about the thing itself, but about your perception of the thing. That's the Stoic view in a nutshell. So first, we looked at what made us anxious. Then, we focused on what we could change. After that, we examined our fears, then played with the thought of the worst that could happen. The last thing we're going to do is look at our impressions and then manage them. The Stoic way is to not be afraid. It's to charge head-on into the problem and tackle it as something you are capable of facing. Fear is not our way. Overcoming is. The Stoics talked about impressions, your initial reaction to something. It's that first, almost instinctive thought or feeling that pops into your head when you encounter a situation, a job interview, a first date, even a critical comment from a friend. These all create impressions. Here's the crucial part. You don't have to accept every impression at face value. The Stoics believed that we have the power to judge our impressions. We can choose to accept them, reject them, or modify them. This is where our agency lies. This is where our power to control anxiety is strongest. Seneca summarized this when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. How much of your anxiety is actually based on something that is happening right now? The good news is, if your anxiety is largely based on imagination, that means you have the power to change it. Because you have the power to change your imagination. You have the power to challenge those initial impressions and to reframe them in a more rational and helpful way. So look at your assumptions, question them. See if the consequences are really as bad as you imagine. If you can, moderate them, and then plan out how you're going to make those negative consequences vanish through action. So in the first section of this talk, we focused on changing our environment with our thoughts and improving it. Now, we're switching to action. The Stoics understood a profound truth. Action dispels anxiety. Don't passively wait for worry to fade. Actively engage with the world to diminish those concerns of yours. What fuels your anxiety more than anything else is often the lack of action. It's procrastination. It's that task looming over you, the deadline you're pushing back, the difficult conversation you're avoiding. These are all breeding grounds for anxiety. The longer you delay, the bigger the monster grows in your mind. If you let it, then it becomes something far more terrifying than the original task ever was. Why? Because inaction allows your imagination to run wild. Your mind conjures up worst-case scenarios, amplifies potential failures, and generally paints a picture of utter doom. And at the same time, a situation that is manageable when small can become out of control if you allow it to grow large. So don't let it. Remember, all of this power exists within your head, and you can act on it to create a better life for you. So, how do you start? As Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacle is the way. The antidote is action. Take small concrete steps toward your goals. Inch by inch, reclaim control. You want to shift from a state of passive worry to active engagement. Let's say you're anxious about a presentation you have to give. Instead of letting that anxiety paralyze you, break it down. Spend just 15 minutes researching your topic. That's one concrete step. Then, tomorrow, write a brief outline. Another step. Then, practice the opening for 5 minutes. Another step. Each small action is a victory against anxiety. It's a tangible demonstration that you are not helpless, that you are capable of moving forward, and that the task isn't as insurmountable as your anxiety makes it out to be. Then, having taken that first step, look at the negative thought patterns that are left after you have taken action, and attack those. So remember, first we worked with our thoughts to tame our fears and rein in our anxiety. Then, we took action to diminish those concerns we had, to make change by doing. Now, we are going back to our thoughts, after taking action, to make our mental state better once again. Even when you're taking all the right steps, there are thought patterns that can cause you trouble. We call them cognitive distortions, and they're mental shortcuts that our brains use which, unfortunately, often lead to negative and inaccurate conclusions. A common one is catastrophizing. This is when you take a small problem and blow it completely out of proportion. I didn't get that promotion. My career is over. Another is all or nothing thinking. This is the, if I'm not perfect, I'm a failure mindset. There is no middle ground. Everything is either black or white. Then there's overgeneralization. This is when you take one negative experience and apply it to everything. I failed one test, so I'm going to fail all my tests. Spotting these distortions is half the battle. Once you can identify them, you can start to challenge them using Stoic logic. Let's take the fear of failure. Say you're hesitating to pursue a new project at work because you're afraid of failing. Your anxious thought might be, if I fail, I'll look like an idiot, and everyone will think I'm incompetent. Now, let's use Stoic logic to challenge that. First, is it guaranteed that you'll fail? Second, even if you do fail, is it truly the end of the world? What's the worst that could happen? You might feel embarrassed. You might look bad to some people. So what? You'll survive. More importantly, you'll learn from the experience. It is simply not true that people give no credit for trying. If people can see that you worked and you tried and something didn't work out, we all know that happens. That's life. Every failure is an opportunity to improve, to adjust your approach, and to come back stronger. And sometimes, the only way to succeed is to fail first. Anxiety loves to whisper that you need to know what's coming. It tells you that if you just plan enough, worry enough, control enough, then everything will be all right. But that's a lie. Life is fundamentally uncertain. The stock market can crash. People get sick. Plans fall through. And clinging to the illusion of control only makes the fall that much harder. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that trying to control the uncontrollable is a recipe for suffering. We live in an uncertain world, and that will never change. So, how do we embrace uncertainty? It starts with acceptance. Accepting that not everything is in your hands. Accepting that setbacks are inevitable. Accepting that life is a journey, not a destination. It's like steering a ship. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you can navigate. And you can ultimately reach your destination, even if the path isn't always smooth. Anxiety is a time traveler. It loves to zip you forward into the future, into a thicket of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. Or it drags you kicking and screaming back into the past, replaying mistakes and regrets on an endless loop. It traps you in these mental prisons, and the key to escape is right here, right now, the present moment. You can change things in the present moment. That's why it's precious. So, put it to work. Make this moment count. And one of the ways you can do that is connect more strongly what is happening inside you and around you right now. A core technique for this is to simply observe your thoughts without judgment. It sounds easy, but it's surprisingly challenging. When an anxious thought pops up, like, I'm going to fail that presentation, your natural inclination is to either fight it, get caught up in it, or try to push it away. But the way of Stoic mindfulness calls for something else. Imagine your thoughts are clouds floating across the sky. You don't try to grab them, or control them, or get upset by their shape. You simply notice them. There's a cloud that says I'm going to fail. And then you let it drift on by. You acknowledge the thought without getting tangled in the emotion. You don't identify with it. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky, the space in which those thoughts arise and pass. This takes practice, of course. Start with short sessions, even just a minute or two, and gradually increase the duration. You can do this anywhere, anytime. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and observe your thoughts. Now, some of them may be anxious thoughts. You might ask, What do we do about those? How do we fight anxiety in the moment? We do it by interrogating those thoughts to see if those fears really hold up. Often, they don't. We do it by taking action, so the thing we're worried about is taken care of and potentially solved. Finally, we do it over the long term, by strengthening our position and our choices, by being ethical. We build inner resilience through virtue. Think of this as your shield, your fortress, against the forces that want to throw you off balance. Virtuous choices, over time, gives us more control. Anxiety often arises from a perceived lack of control. We worry because we feel powerless. But virtue gives that power back. It's the ability to act in accordance with what is right, regardless of the external circumstances. The Stoics prioritized a few specific virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Wisdom isn't just about knowledge. It's about seeing things clearly, understanding what truly matters, and making sound judgments. It's about identifying your destructive patterns, your cognitive biases, and the lies you tell yourself that fuel your anxiety. Justice is about fairness, integrity, and treating others with respect. When you strive to be just, you create a more harmonious environment, minimizing conflict and promoting inner peace. It also means treating yourself with fairness and kindness, dismantling the harsh inner critic that often drives anxiety. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of fear. It's about facing your anxieties head-on, not running from them. It's challenging your comfort zone. It's taking calculated risks in alignment with what you value. Moderation is about moderation and self-control. It's resisting the urge to indulge in unhealthy coping mechanisms like overeating, substance abuse, or endless scrolling. It's about finding balance in your life and cultivating inner peace through self-discipline. So we do all that, in unison, to fight anxiety. We analyze our thoughts, we do things to improve ourselves, and we act on our convictions and beliefs. And finally, in order to be in the right shape to take on the world, we look to our body. Taking care of yourself, both physically and mentally, is absolutely critical when you're fighting anxiety. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. Think of your body and mind as a finely tuned machine. If you neglect the fuel it needs, if you push it too hard without rest, it's going to break down. Anxiety is often a symptom of that breakdown. What does taking care of ourselves look like? It starts with the basics: healthy food, regular exercise, and enough sleep. When you're consistently eating nutritious foods, you're providing your brain with what it needs to regulate mood and manage stress. When you exercise, you're releasing endorphins and reducing pent-up energy that can manifest as anxiety. When you get enough sleep, you're allowing your brain to rest and repair. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Stop wasting your time and start being smart about how you use it. As part of that, consider your environment. How much news do you consume? How much time goes to social media? Our brains are wired to react to threats, and constantly bombarding ourselves with negativity puts our nervous system on high alert. Be deliberate about your limits. Choose reputable sources. Limit your social media consumption, and unfollow accounts that trigger negative emotions. Even if you do spend a lot of time on social media, you could shift your time and energy towards more positive and helpful platforms, and move away from those which lead to doom scrolling and depressive feelings. Finally, don't neglect your physical environment, which matters as much as your mental one. Create a calm and peaceful environment in your home. Take the time to create that peace, which often doesn't exist unless you make space for it. Declutter, play soothing music, and spend time in nature. Lastly, as you're doing all this, be gentle with yourself. The path to peace isn't a straight line. It's more like a winding road with potholes and detours. Setbacks are inevitable. You're going to have days where the anxiety feels overwhelming, where you slip back into old habits. That's okay. It's part of the process. When setbacks happen, don't beat yourself up. Doing that can actually increase your anxiety. Self-criticism is just another form of inner turmoil. Instead, acknowledge the setback, identify what triggered it, and learn from it. Understanding the cause will help you prevent similar setbacks in the future. So, all in all, we now have a complete playbook for fighting anxiety. We put our anxious thoughts under the microscope and only worry about what we can change. We take actions to make things better and remove the roots of our anxiety. If it's a problem we can solve through action, which most problems are, we align our ethics and our morals in such a way that they help to reduce our anxiety over time as we work to improve our situation, and the results flow in. Finally, we work to create a harmonious and peaceful home environment so that all our efforts can bloom under the right conditions. It's a journey, but so is life, and right effort can make it easier. Don't be afraid to adjust either. If a particular tip or technique isn't working, try something else. Experiment and find what resonates with you. Our advice is all about making incremental progress, not achieving instant perfection. Start small. When you feel that familiar wave of anxiety rising, pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually in control of here? Choose calm. Choose reason. Choose virtue. And don't be discouraged if you stumble. The key is to keep practicing. Each time you apply these principles, you're strengthening your ability to navigate life's challenges with equanimity. You're building resilience. You're reclaiming your inner peace. Finally, remember Epictetus. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. It's not enough to understand Stoicism intellectually. It's about living it. It's about making it a part of who you are. Let your actions, your words, and your choices be the fruits you've cultivated through Stoic practice. So distinguish what you can control from what you can't. Focus on your actions and judgments. Practice acceptance. And live according to virtue. Do that, and your anxiety will diminish. Finally, if this video helped you take back control of your life, leave a comment below sharing which strategy resonated most with you. Your insight might be exactly what another viewer needs to succeed in their own relationships. And remember to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom that builds mental strength and practical resilience. Marcus Aurelius said, "Today I discarded anxiety because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside." So go out there and use the power you have to overcome your anxiety and become a better, more effective person today.